In brightest day,
In blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light.
If I had to say what my favorite story in Humphries' Green Lantern run is, I would say it would have to be the first one in this part of his final story, because it's basically a training arc, and as someone who loves anime, I love a good training arc. I might blame this on Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Mulan, possibly, but whatever. A good training arc serves a multitude of purposes, and in this case it brings Simon and Jessica, and by extension the reader, into the world of Hal Jordan the Green Lantern Corps book, because, hey, the Green Lanterns and the Sinestro Corps teamed up, and we also get the overall plot moving, along with Vulthum, who is inside Raimi's body still. The training arc itself brings interesting character interactions, which is also something a good training arc does, such as Kyle helping Jessica get to Oa when she gets lost in space, and seeing both her and Simon interact with Kilowog was great because Kilowog is awesome. He's like one of the best lanterns ever. Now, the training Simon and Jessica undergo here makes sense. As John Stewart points out, look, you've had a lot of basic understanding of the ring. You've had a lot of testing under fire, but you need to go to the next level. There's a lot you're not quite getting, and it's some key stuff here. So John decides, well, you know what, the best people for you would have Jessica train under Guy Gardner and Kyle to train under Simon. And this is a really cool idea, because the easy thing to do would be to have them learn under Hal, but we've already seen Hal. Most people already know who Hal Jordan is if they're reading this comic book, as they saw him in the beginning. So let's go the extra mile and have them meet Kyle and Guy. And that's great because they don't know Kyle and Guy. Well, Simon knows of Kyle and Guy, but he hasn't really met them. And the training here is really important because with Jessica, it's really about letting her know she's got to get outside of her own head, because she's her own worst enemy out there in the field. Her anxiety, her overthinking, she's overthinking her anxiety half the time, especially when out in the field. We've seen that before, as well as the idea that, she thinks she's running out of willpower. Kilowog tells her a story about this emerald star that, it shines so brightly that even if the clouds obscure it, it's still shining. That's your willpower. You're never out of willpower. That's the secret to being a Green Lantern. Possibly why the Green Lantern ring might be the best one. Simon himself is learning to be more creative with his constructs, thinking more outside the box. Because lately he's just sort of like boxing glove. Obvious item here. Kyle Rayner is an artist. Or it was once described in Green Lantern Rebirth that when he makes a construct, in his mind, like you can actually see him erasing it and redrawing it. And he draws inspiration from manga and everything to make his constructs. So it's really cool to see that. For Simon to realize how far he can go. And it makes sense because Simon has done the impossible before, but he's never tried to create the impossible. So there's that. And then it ultimately culminates in Jessica punching Guy Gardner, which is always great ever since Batman did it before. And that leads to a great ceremony with the other Lanterns of Earth. There's a lot of Earth Lanterns, and we never quite know why. Usually sectors in the Green Lantern Corps are patrolled by two Lanterns per sector. And what's weird about that is they're usually from different planets. Now, certain rings will follow certain legacies. But again, out of the entire sector of 2814, all the Lanterns from that sector are Earthlings. Weird, whatever. Meanwhile, Vulthum, as this is going on, has found his way face-to-face with Ganthet. Luckily, he's still in Raimi's body, and Ganthet and Say don't suspect anything. So, Ganthet has a problem. Well, they all have a problem. There isn't a way. Something's wrong with the central power battery. It's not sending out new rings, and if there are no new rings, there are no new recruits coming in. So, under the guise of fixing that, Vulthum is allowed access to Raimi's notebooks. And what he's trying to figure out is what happened to his travel lantern. Because remember, what Vulthum wants more than anything is to just go home. He wants to go home, and he wants to possibly save his mom. While going through Raimi's records, Vulthum finds out that Raimi had actually destroyed the travel lantern and had used it to create the first 7 Green Lantern rings. So the question is, what can he do now? Well, Vulthum can possibly use the rings as his travel lantern. So the question is, where are those rings? He turns out a lot of them are just gone, but there is one left, definitively left, and that is the one that Jessica Cruz uses. So he needs Jessica. At the same time this is going on, we're seeing the arrival of the first 7 Green Lanterns, and they're a really cool, creative bunch here. We've got people from Krypton, people from a warrior race that has been trying to strive for peace, a white Martian, people from Kolus, people like Brainiac, a Tamaranian tiger, a robot, a plant lady, looking cool. And then Jessica and Simon are made bodyguards to quote-unquote Raimi as he accesses the Vault of Shadows, which is where the tombs are of the first 7 Green Lanterns and their rings. So they go there. Vulthum reveals himself when he gets a hold of his actual ring, and haha, I'm Vulthum, and chaos ensues, and Vulthum tries to use the ring to transport back. And turns out that ring is Jessica's. It's more Jessica's than it is Vulthum's. So Jessica uses the ring to say, "Ring, get us out of here," and it teleports Simon and Jessica out of there with Vulthum sort of stuck in the present. Because Simon and Jessica have gone all the way back over 2 billion years to actually when Vulthum is attacking the Guardians. And what's cool about that is, well, they arrive just in time to see the new recruits, the first 7 Lanterns. And Jessica tries to convince them, okay, well, we need your help. I'm going to teach you how to use the ring. And that's really where this story sort of becomes a Jessica-centric story. Because over the course of the fight with Vulthum, Simon's ring breaks. And it's sort of infused in his arm, so he's prematurely benched for all intents and purposes. So Jessica's sort of forced to get this ragtag group of people from very different backgrounds, very different ideas of what to do. Some are very set on the idea of justice. Some feel, well, I can just go and do whatever I want now. None of them can really agree, so Jessica's able to bring them together, especially since these rings don't have safeguards on them. So it doesn't restrict or limit your power. So one of them actually just gets overloaded and the ring kills them. So that's pretty much where the story goes. It's pretty much just it's a training arc followed by the plot, followed by a sort of hodgepodge training arc as we see Jessica and Simon sort of mentor these new Lanterns to be who they are. And what's really cool is Jessica even tells the story of the star that she learned from Kilowog to them. So Jessica is the originator of that story that is told to her. Welcome to a timey-wimey moment. So in the ensuing battle with Vulthum, we're going to be very... actually, no, we're not going to say anything more about this because it's a really cool and somewhat hilarious way this battle ends. You can sort of think it's a very timey-wimey way to end, but we're just going to bring it to an end there because I don't want to ruin it. It's a really fun ending, and because of how Sam Humphries' line ends, there's really no point in saying, well, this will have greater implications later. It doesn't. It's very in line with what Humphries has done here, which again is sort of like his weakest spot here. In this run. Nothing seems to have any real long-standing consequences. So that's Humphries' Green Lantern's run. And how is it? Well, outside of that issue, I really like it. I think it's creative. I think it's fun. I think because of how expansive the Green Lantern lineup is, if you use Hal, John, Guy, or Kyle, it's easy to sort of get swamped by it all. Again, this is because the Green Lantern book never rebooted when New 52 started. So there was no real idea of what that continuity is. It was just, it's always happened. So no, it's very hard for new readers to get into that. This is very much a great introduction to the Green Lantern universe. You see enough of Hal, you see enough of Guy, you see enough of John, you see enough of Kyle. You see Kilowog, you see Oa. Especially in this arc, you see exactly what a Green Lantern does, what they stand for, how they interact with the rest of the superhero community. Or just Batman, to be honest. And Simon and Jessica are great characters. I said in my last video that it's hard to say who the main character is half the time. But if we're honest with ourselves, I think Humphries is really drawn to Jessica. And this carries on even later in Tim Seeley's run. Jessica is, I think, more interesting to tell a story of. And it's also because, well, Jeff Johns later, when Jeff Johns ended his run New 52, he did flat out say, oh, Simon will eventually give up the ring. Jessica won't. Actually, didn't even reveal Jessica. until the end of the Forever Evil event. So, yeah, if you want something that doesn't require a lot of history, but gives you enough of it, enough of a tease of the Green Lantern universe to get you to want to read more, I would say read this. If you want something a bit more lore heavy, this is not the book for you. This just isn't. So anyway, with that in mind, brings this video to close here. If you're new to the Bucket Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Check out some other videos, and I'll catch you all later. This is the Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve